Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about William Nylander, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and if there'll be a potential William Nylander trade coming. Now there's 10 days remaining until the William Nylander deadline, so that begs the question, with the recent trade rumors, will the Toronto Maple Leafs and the William Nylander camp end up making a deal? Now once again, we're 10 days away from the December 1st William Nylander deadline, where both William Nylander and the Toronto Maple Leafs have to make a decision. So if you have the trade rumors were already ramping up, they're going to be very much on fire, especially in the last few days, especially if something doesn't get done. Now, with 10 days remaining until this William Nylander deadline, there are three possibilities. He's traded, he's signed, or he sits out for the rest of the season. And honestly, with 10 days remaining, all three could be possible here. Now, a week ago, I would have said it was unlikely that Toronto would make William Nylander sit. I would have thought they would get a deal done then, but in the past couple of days, there's been reports of Toronto actually being okay with William Nylander sitting. So we have even more possibilities on the dinner table here, and I'm just going to get even more fiery for the days leading up. And honestly, I would have thought this situation would be dealt about a month ago. Heading into the season, I thought, okay, this is going to be done and sorted with in the first couple weeks of the season, but it just kept dragging on, rumors kept dragging on, and nothing really happened at all. And we're 10 days away from the deadline, so this is crunch time for both the Toronto Maple Leafs and William Nylander. And it kind of baffles me that we've gone so far into the season with this William Nylander situation. Again, I would have thought it would be done with a month ago, but I'm questioning mindsets of both Kyle Dubas and William Nylander because of this whole situation going on. I think it hurts both parties involved. When we look at William Nylander's side of things, he's lost a bunch of money due to games that he could have played in. But again, he hasn't signed, and we're almost a month into the season. We're more than a month into the season now, and William Nylander has lost countless money due to not playing any games and not getting that salary. So while he is fighting for more money in this deal and in this contract, at the same time, he's losing money because of how many games he's missed. And on Kyle Dubas' side, he's been so stubborn to a point where we're 10 days away from the deadline, and now trade rumors are swirling. But the problem with that is, when you have a deadline, you're going to have less trade value. And with this, I think there's no question that William Nylander's trade value has diminished since the start of the season. If Kyle Dubas were to trade him at the start of the season, who knows what he could have gotten. But now, since we're 10 days away from the deadline, teams know that it's the crunch time for William Nylander and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if Kyle Dubas is looking for a trade, teams know that it's not going to go good in those contract situations. So teams are going to ask for less, and teams are going to want William Nylander even more, which can be good and bad for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I think ultimately his value will be lowered in the long run. Now, we have heard confirmation that Toronto is interested in offers, and they're looking into offers. Now, listening and looking in are two completely different things, but with the Toronto Maple Leafs, I would be a little bit worried if they're listening to offers. While it could just be them ringing up the phone and answering the phone, it could still mean that, hey, Toronto is open to a trade, which, if you're a William Nylander fan, especially a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, that's not really good news. You like to see your team have complete confidence in signing the guy, but right now, I feel like Toronto is kind of on the outside looking in, especially when it comes to these contract negotiations. I feel like they're a bit too far apart when it comes to William Nylander and Toronto. I think that's why we've seen so many trade rumors the past couple of weeks, because I think Toronto is finally listening and finally starting to look for options. But I also think this stubbornness on both sides here is kind of hurting them and shooting both of them in the feet right now. If they could get like a short-term deal, I think that would be best for the team. I think that would be best for William Nylander, and for the whole team morale, that would be great. But right now, since William Nylander is asking for too much, since Toronto is asking for too little, I think it's honestly biting them both in the foot. While Toronto is a great team, right now they're number 2 ranked in the NHL, so they're still getting things done. But imagine that team with William Nylander added, and it's a whole different ball game. And with William Nylander, he's not skating on NHL ice. While he is still training, I'd say, I don't think that he's getting those regular NHL games, which could hamper his career and could hamper his physicality and conditioning. And even in William Nylander's case, while I am for players getting their money, when it comes to Toronto, I think you should take a pay cut. You got an excellent chance to win a cup in Toronto, and adding William Nylander to that offense could make it pretty much unstoppable. So while I am against Kyle Dubas in asking for too little right now, I feel like William Nylander is also asking for a little bit much, especially when you're on the Toronto Maple Leafs, where it's not like it's free money going around. They're going to have to cut their options. And with William Nylander, it feels like he's asking for too much, and with Kyle Dubas, he's asking for too little. But again, the closer we get to that December 1st deadline, the more and more I feel like we've seen the last of William Nylander in a Toronto Maple Leafs uniform, and the more and more I feel like a trade might just be inevitable. Now, while Toronto is reportedly okay with sending William Nylander for the rest of the season after the December 1st deadline, I'm not really sure that both Toronto and William Nylander want to go through that again next season. So while I think that Toronto and William Nylander want to get a contract done, I feel like Toronto might just take it into their own hands to make a big splash before that December 1st deadline. Let's just look at Toronto Maple Leafs GM Kyle Dubas, who in the offseason, one of his first moves was signing John Tavares to that huge deal, arguably the biggest free agent signing in NHL history. So Kyle Dubas is obviously not afraid to make some moves, to make some splashes, and I feel like a trade for William Nylander and trading William Nylander might not be the last big thing that he does. And while I don't really agree with that mindset, I feel like the closer we get to that December 1st deadline, I feel the more realistic it will get. Now, Pierre LeBrun reported about a week ago that apparently 1/3 of the entire NHL is interested in a trade of William Nylander. Now, that's a lot of teams. That's more than 10 teams there. So there's a lot of options when it comes to teams, when it comes to players coming back, and when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs, the decisions that they'll make. And in that group, I think there's a lot of potential teams that make a lot of sense. Now, the most notable team out there is the Carolina Hurricanes. GM Don Waddell has openly said that they've been looking into William Nylander and a potential trade there. And I think it would definitely work. While William Nylander is definitely used to the spotlight in Carolina, I think he could definitely thrive with guys like Sebastian Aho, Teuvo Teravainen. I think it would definitely work for his career, and he could put up solid numbers down there, especially with if he's signed. And of course, Carolina has been one of the teams that we've honestly known for a while they've been interested in. It was just all about what was coming back. And of course, for the defensemen, you got Slavin, you got Dougie Hamilton, you got Brett Pesce. But I think Toronto might just want more than just a Brett Pesce, and I feel like they might want a package deal there. But as I said before, we're 10 days away from the William Nylander deadline, so teams know that his trade value is diminishing, and it's diminishing by the day. Again, 10 days left. That's only a week and a half, and teams know that they want to get something done, whether it be through contract or a trade. So if, let's just say, Kyle Dubas goes to Don Waddell in Carolina and says, hey, what do you want for William Nylander? His trade value is going to be lower than if he called 2 weeks ago, and that's just how it works. But I feel like they waited so long that it's shooting themselves in the foot. For another team that I think would make a lot of sense, I think the Minnesota Wild would be up there. Now, I'm not sure what would go back. They could have some solid defensemen like Jonas Brodin. I don't think Spurgeon or Dumba is going to be sent there. So maybe a Jonas Brodin, maybe a prospect, maybe Jordan Greenway, something like that. But when it comes to William Nylander, while I think his trade value is diminished, he's still an excellent top 6 forward, and when in Minnesota would fit perfectly on that first line. Another team that I think could be a potential fit there is the St. Louis Blues. Now, they just lost and got shut out versus the LA Kings, so right now, things are not looking good for St. Louis, but making a big splash for a William Nylander could do a lot of great things for that franchise. Now, I've seen Colton Parayko thrown out there, which I think would be an excellent add for Toronto. He's a great, solid top 2 guy, and while he hasn't had the greatest season so far, I think he definitely has potential, so I kind of like that trade offer. Not 1-for-1, maybe Parayko plus maybe a 3rd round pick or something like that, but I feel like St. Louis could be a definite trade partner, especially if they want to give up a guy like Parayko. I think the Anaheim Ducks could also make some sense in there. Now, that defense has been brittle with injuries. We've seen Hampus Lindholm go down. We've seen Cam Fowler go down. So that's 2 guys that are automatically eliminated from the trade talks there. I've seen Brandon Montour bring out there, but I don't think he'd be much of an improvement on a guy just like Travis Dermott. So I don't feel like a trade there for defensemen would really work. So when it comes down to it, I don't think Anaheim would be a great one just because of how many defenseman injuries they've had. And the one guy guy that would make a little bit of sense, really doesn't when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs whole system and their defense core. Now, the last one I'm going to throw out there is the Los Angeles Kings. Now, I think they're last place in the NHL right now. It's not going good for LA, and they obviously want to make a splash, and getting a guy like William Nylander would greatly help the franchise. Getting a young, talented, youthful forward in there would do so much for that forward group, and I think it would greatly benefit LA. But the thing is, I don't know if they have any impact guys that would really be fitful for Toronto. You could put a Jake Muzzin in there, but he's in his 30s. I don't think he's going to be a real solid ad defensively. Offensively, he'd be good, but defensively, I'm not sure about that. I've heard Alec Martinez being thrown out there, but he's been pretty trash in the last couple of years, so I don't know if Toronto wants to take that risk. They got a couple of good prospects, but when it comes down to it, it would be a great ad for LA, but I don't think it would really work for Toronto. So when it comes down to it, I'm going to narrow it down to 3 potential trade targets: the Carolina Hurricanes, the Minnesota Wild, and the St. Louis Blues. I think those 3 teams could work very, very well. They both have, or they all have defensemen that could really work well for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And with William Nylander, while I said that his trade value is down, there are still some solid defensemen that Toronto could add for a potential cup run. And William Nylander, while he is a great player, would not add too much to that forward core since it's already pretty great. And with Toronto, if they want to make a trade, I think that those 3 would be pretty good trade targets, especially when it comes to the defensemen that are available. But again, we have 10 days left until the William Nylander deadline, so something is going to get done, whether he's signed, traded. I don't think he's going to sit for the rest of the year, so I think we can cross that out. But I think there's going to be some massive drama. There's going to be some new rumors coming out, so when it comes to the rumors, stay tuned because there might be a lot more developing information, especially since we're only 10 days out from the William Nylander deadline. And while I like the Maple Leafs a lot, well, I really do like William Nylander. I think these negotiations are just getting quite ridiculous, whether it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs asking price or the William Nylander's asking price. I think they're just too far off, so I think a trade is the most logical bet to happen here. And while Nylander might take a short-term deal, I think if that were to happen, it would have happened already. So that's why I'm kind of on the trade side of things. And while a trade might seem unlikely, I feel like it might just come down to Kyle Dubas getting impatient. But again, the next 10 days are going to be super spicy when it comes to news and rumors, so make sure you keep it up with the channel because again, the next wave of Nylander news could be around the corner. But again, with this William Nylander situation, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. So let me know what you think about this William Nylander contract situation. Do you think he'll get signed? Do you think he'll get traded? If so, where do you think he'll get traded? And where do you think the Toronto Maple Leafs will end up dealing him? But if you want some more Grav goodness, you can watch this card up here, or click this little video if you want to, where I discuss 5 rookies that have surprised me so far this season. But that is going for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you like and subscribe, hit that bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below what you think about William Nylander and the 10 days remaining until the deadline. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.